When there's problems in the world, in your neighborhood, in society, who should solve them? Should the government solve them, or should people in that neighborhood solve them? Today our word is going to be social gospel. This is a movement of the progressive era in the United States, where people, Protestant, where Christians started to look at their faith as not just something of individual conversion and reform, but social reform.
We never backing down.
I'm a believer.
Never backing down.
I'm a believer.
Social gospel movement is a movement in the progressive era in the United States where Protestant Christians look to change society for the better. That their faith was not just an exercise of self-reform, but social reform and social progress. So industrialization changed everything, changing from a agricultural to a industrial society, changing from a mainly rural and small town society to urban and metropolitan society. Changed a number of things. The influx of immigrants from various parts of Europe changed a lot. And even though there was a lot of success, there was also a lot of struggle. That's why sometimes they call this era of the early 1900s the Gilded Age, because it looked great from the outside. It was covered in gold, but underneath there was decay. The poverty, the crime, the tribalism that immigrants brought with them will stay to our kinds and never really assimilate, sometimes plagued the natural flow of society. Political machines took advantage of the less fortunate, and even though they served some of their needs, they also exploited their neediness. But the social gospel was, hey, let's give without expecting anything in return. Let's fulfill the Great Commission. Let's win converts, not through just preaching, but also showing them what this stuff is about, loving your brother. So, what does that look like? You see the Salvation Armies and YMCAs and hall houses where people who are down on their times, who don't have jobs or don't have places to stay, could find a place to stay, recreation, different forms of education, and maybe even a meal. Walter Reichenbach was one of the founding voices in this movement. They called upon biblical teachings of the Good Samaritan and of conversations that Christ had after healing, after feeding the multitudes. Once Christ asked Peter, "Peter, do you love me?" And he says, "Master, of course I love you." And Jesus responds, "Feed my sheep." So the movement looks towards the portion of the faith that is relational. It's not you, but it's you in a society, you as part of the group. This wasn't universally accepted. Many people thought it was bribing people into the faith, that if you just gave them the gospel was enough to change their hearts. But people who believed in this social gospel movement weren't concerned about whether they fill the pews. What they were concerned about is, there are needy people, what would Jesus do? Before that acronym was ever created. So, not waiting for the government, we're going to do this ourselves. We're going to feed the hungry. We're going to educate. We're going to become a part of modern life. What church in modern day America has not tried some social effort? Many new churches are built with social halls or gymnasiums, right? To do just that. Social gospel. Your faith is powerful enough to not just reform your life, but also be a positive engine for change in our society. To feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to be a friend to the friendless. Thanks for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe, and tell me what words we need to discuss. Have any questions? Put them in the comments below. All the best. Peace.